No fluff, let's get right to it.
My ducks, my swans, welcome to the pond.
Number one, playing ain't coaching. I've been hearing a lot of people say that JJ Redick has had 17 years of NBA experience. He was a player inside the NBA, played on some really good teams, played on some really bad teams. He was able to experience essentially everything that the NBA has to offer as a player outside of being an elite superstar and an all-star in the NBA. He played at Duke for 4 years. He was everything that a Duke basketball player you think would ever be. He was one of the greatest Duke players of all time, and he learned from one of the greatest coaches of all time. And people have said because he has been in those situations, he's been in the media, he's had a podcast with LeBron, that makes him ready to be a coach. And that could not be further from the truth. When you're a player in the NBA, who are you concerned with? Who is numero uno? You. And you might be concerned about your teammates because you got genuine relationships with them. These are your friends, these are your homeboys, y'all families hang out, y'all going through the same thing. You've been knowing them for a long time because you played AAU, you trained with them, you've been in camps with them. But at the end of the day, you are really concerned about your career. If practice starts at 10 and you get to practice at 8:30 and you leave after practice is done at 12, if y'all having a 2-hour practice and you leave at 1:30, from 8:30 to 1:30, that's a 5-hour day. You are an exceptional professional basketball player because you are putting time in before and you are putting a little bit of time in after to make sure that you are taken care of and you are sharpening your iron and keeping yourself prepared for when your number is called on that team. There is not a coach in the NBA that would not want you to be a part of their team and have that professional schedule. That's when you're a player. When you're a coach, if you think that you're about to work from 8:30 to 1:30 on your team and y'all gonna have success, it's just not gonna happen. When you're a coach, you're probably getting in at 6:30, 7, at the latest 7:30 for a 10 o'clock practice. If you are a coach that's serious, when you're a coach, you're staying till 4:30, 5:30, maybe even 6:30, 7:30 based on what other things you have going on because you are not just in charge of you anymore as a coach. You have 15 players you're in charge of. You have 15 staff members you're in charge of. You have 3 or 4 people in the front office who are constantly coming in checking on you, who you got to have a relationship with. You have a chairman, a governor, what some people still call an owner who you're going to have a relationship with. There are media members who you have to check in with on a daily basis. Based on what type of situation you are, if it's a contract year or not, you might have to make sure that you have a relationship with your agent as well. And I'm not saying that players don't have to balance some of that, but it's not at the level that a head coach does. The time that it takes to be a coach is something that players just don't understand. You are responsible for a lot more people for your success. And when you're playing, you know exactly what it is that you need to work on to be successful in your role contributing to the team. You really are just pigeonholed into your point of view, your POV. When you're a coach, you're the one telling the players about their POV, and you have to develop a plan for them, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. And just because you were a shooter that came off a whole lot of screens from Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan and did a 2-man game with Joel Embiid, that doesn't mean that you understand Joel Embiid's point of view or Blake Griffin's point of view, DeAndre Jordan's point of view, Dwight Howard's point of view, Jameer Nelson's point of view. You can talk to them about it, but when did you actually sit down and game plan with them about it? When have you actually done that with anybody in basketball? You haven't, because you ain't never coached. Number 2, learning ain't teaching. Just because you play in the NBA, that doesn't mean you can coach in the NBA. The same way that just because you get an A in the class, that does not mean that you can teach the class. There are people who are phenomenal students who can learn at an exceptionally high level. That does not mean that they have all of the skills to teach that to a group of people, because anyone who is a teacher can attest to this. The way you process information is not how everyone in your class is going to process information. And it is your job as a teacher to make sure that they process the information and understand it. Now, as a teacher, they have to be able to understand it so they can get all those answers right on the standardized test so the school can continue to get public funding so you can keep your job. As a coach, you have to make sure they process that information so they can work together with each other. You have to develop a plan for how he learns. Is he a kinesthetic learner? Is he an auditory learner? Is he a visual learner? Do you even know what these things mean? What pedagogical experience does JJ Redick have when it comes to teaching anything? Have you made game plans? Have you made lesson plans? Have you done any of the things that teachers are required to do so their students can be successful? Because that's what a coach is. You're a basketball teacher. And in the NBA, you're teaching at the highest level. So you have the players with the highest IQs, and they're gonna help you. You got LeBron James, exceptionally high basketball IQ, the equivalent of a Rhodes Scholar in the world of academia. But everybody ain't LeBron James. And LeBron only gonna be there for probably 2 more years. What are you gonna do to make sure everyone else understands what they're supposed to do when you have no experience doing it? With championship expectations, with a roster that's barely good enough to get to the play-in. And number 3, that coaching grind. You know, coaching, one thing I really noticed when I was coaching is that the time commitment is something that's crazy. And the NBA time commitment is not like college. College basketball coaches' time commitment is insane. High school coaches' time commitment is pretty manageable, but at times it can be crazy. I feel like AAU coaches, they do a lot as well, but they probably have the best schedule outside of the NBA, right? The NBA, you got your summers off. You ain't got to be in the facility to 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. You know, it's a lot of travel, but it's not a crazy schedule. But where the coaching grind is that it's mental. It's mental. When you're playing, there's a mental aspect to it, but it's balanced with the physical aspect, and it works hand in hand. When you're a coach, you're leaning way more mental than you are physical. And not saying that you need to keep up your physical condition, because you do, but testing those mental muscles is something that if you haven't done, it's going to be very, very hard for you to have the conditioning in order to last the entire season. That's like you trying to run a marathon when you get tired running a 100-yard sprint. How do you expect to run 26.2 miles? And this is something, if you really pay attention to it, the reason why a lot of coaches get a divorce, reason why a lot of coaches get cancer, reason why a lot of coaches have estranged relationships with their kids. There's a mental and emotional and spiritual toll that every single coach understands that's different than when you are a player. Because once again, as a player, you are only concerned about you. But as a coach, you got to be concerned about everybody. And there's only so much time in a day. And the amount of pressure that's on your shoulders, you're trying to constantly push that off while balancing that family. If you've never had any experience doing that for an 82-game season, because ain't no load management for coaches. You got to show up every single night and be at your best. How do you expect to learn that on the fly with a team that has championship expectations with a play-in roster? This is awesome that JJ Redick at 40 years old, his first paid coaching job is him getting $8 million a year from the Los Angeles Lakers, and he gets to learn on the fly. This is phenomenal for him. It's a great opportunity, but they have set him up for failure. And his struggles are gonna be well known. I'm out the pond. Y'all stay true.
It's Sunday, got a call. My uncle's called and hit a wall. I didn't believe it, I still had sleep and crust on my eyes was still on. My cousin Nikola said it's all bad. She's a law school grad, she don't play that.